The unique representation theorem has a very important result. It can seem a little technical, so let's try to ease our way into it. Suppose that all you're told about a vector space V is that it has a basis B1 up to Bn. Well, any vector in this vector space is a linear combination of these basis vectors. And what we now know is that every vector in the vector space is a unique linear combination of the basis vectors. There's only one way of doing this. So suppose I was to ask you to describe this vector V as compactly as you can. Well, V can be described just by noting down these coefficients. This list of coefficients uniquely represents V. Well, hold on though. A list of numbers can be thought of as a vector. So any vector in this vector space can be uniquely described by a vector in Rn. And that is going to have major consequences. So, for example, maybe V, capital V, is the span of some functions. So V is a subspace of the space of continuous functions. It's a vector space. And these vectors are linearly independent. You can't combine the sine and the cosine linearly to get x squared or anything like that. So an element in this vector space might look something like this. And on the one hand, when you have this written out this way, it looks maybe pretty complicated. For example, I don't think most of us would know what the graph of this function looks out. looks like without resorting to a TI calculator or Desmos or something like that. In another sense, though, this function and every element of this vector space is really simple. It's so simple that it can be uniquely represented just by jotting down three numbers, these three coefficients. And a list of three numbers can in turn be represented by a vector in R3. So any vector in this complicated looking vector space can be represented as a vector in this much simpler vector space. This is going to have practical applications. For example, we can use this to determine whether a set of polynomials is linearly independent. For now, though, we'll proceed with the material of this section.